Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Anjali Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Nitai Gora Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamaduraye Shushusho Shradhanasya Vasudeva Katarushihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyantosto Yabhadrani Vidunoti Suritsutam Nashta Preshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Utama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, Jai and Vijay cursed by the sages, Text 4. So I'll read each line and then you guys can try to repeat as best as you can.
16:4.
Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text 4. Tadva prasadayam yadya. Oh, this may be a little difficult.
When I get the book open, I can
Okay.
sing it.
Tadva prasadayam yadya. Brahma daivam param hime. Tadityatma kritam manye. Yatsva pumbir asat kritaha. Tadva prasadayam yadya. Brahma daivam param hime. Tadityatma kritam manye. Yatsva pumbir asat kritaha. Leela. Tadva prasadayam yadya. Brahma daivam param hime. Tadityatma kritam manye. Yatsva pumbir asat kritaha. Leela. Please chant.
If you want to, do you want to? You can go ahead and read your words this time.
Translation?
No, the verse line by line, just as he was doing, we take turns and then we can do it.
Okay, so the next step, or this is the
Same.
Tadva prasadayam yadya.
Tadva prasadayam yadya. Brahma daivam param hime. Tadityatma kritam manye. Yatsva pumbira satkritaha. Anyone else? You want to try? That's all we can ever do. Number 4. Tadva prasadayam yadya.
Brahma Dahir Hime.
Brahma daivam param hime.
Tadit Atma Kritam Mane.
Tadityatma kritam manye.
Yatstava Hamir Atsat Krite.
Yatsva pumbira satkritaha. Tad. Therefore. Vaha. You sages. Prasadayami. I am seeking your forgiveness. Adya. Just now. Brahma. The brāhmaṇas. Daivam. Most beloved personalities. Param. Highest. He. Because. My. Tat. That offense. He. Because. Iti. Thus. Atmakritam. Done by me. Manye. I consider. Yat. Which. Svapumbihi. By my own attendants. Asatkritaha. Having been disrespected. Translation. To me, the brāhmaṇa is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Lord is always in favor of the brāhmaṇas and the cows, and therefore it is said, Go brāhmana hitaya cha. Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the worshipful deity of the brāhmaṇas. In the Vedic literature, in the Rig Mantra hymns of the Rig Veda, it is stated that those who are actually brāhmaṇas always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Om tad Vishnoho paramam param sada pashanti surayaha. Those who are qualified brāhmanas worship only the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means Krishna, Rama, and all Vishnu expansions. A so-called brāhmana who is born in the family of brāhmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as a brāhmana, because brāhmana means Vaishnav and Vaishnav means brāhmana. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a brāhmana. The formula is Brahma Janatiti Brahmana. A brāhmana is one who has understood Brahman, and a Vaishnava is one who has understood the personality of Godhead. Brahman realization is the beginning of realization of the personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead also knows the impersonal feature of the Supreme, which is Brahman. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava is already a Brahman. It should be noted that the glories of the brāhmana described in this chapter by the Lord Himself refer to His devotee brāhmana or the Vaishnava. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called brāhmanas who are born in brāhmana families but have no brahminical qualifications are referred to in this connection. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So what's happening here is that the four Kumaras, they came to see Lord Vishnu. And when they came to see Lord Vishnu, the two doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, did not allow the four Kumaras to come in to Vaikuntha. And because of this, the four Kumaras cursed the two doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay, because you've done such a horrendous activity of blocking us from entering into Vaikuntha. We're going to curse you, and you're going to have to take birth as demons. So who do they take birth as, Raghuvan Vidura?
Take birth as someone has to live in Russia.
Who else?
Radha and his brother.
Kumbhakarna.
Kumbhakarna. Can't remember. Shishupam, Zanjavan.
And then they get a fourth bonus time they come. Jagai and Madai. He knew them, right? They offend the Lord. That's their original names. Yeah. So in one sense, it's really not a curse. They got to come be part of the Lord's pastime. So it's arrangement, but all the Leelas arrangement. And what happens in all the Leelas is all of them are executed by the will of the Lord, and they're instructional. So he's arranging all of them so he can teach the living entities to surrender to him. And because they're his Leelas, not just anyone can be in them. So if anyone's going to be a demon, it's going to have to be his devotees. Because he wants to play with them. This is why it's called Leela. Just like when kids go out and play, that's Leela. They're not doing it because they have to do it. They're doing it for their own pleasure because they want to do it. And so sometimes somebody is a cop, and sometimes the other person is the robber. But the one kid who's supposed to be the bad guy is never the bad guy, but someone has to play the bad guy. What's instructive about this pastime, especially right here, is that those who are in positions of authority are responsible for those who follow them. A father is responsible and culpable for the actions of his children. A guru is responsible for the activities of his disciple. And even in the material world, an employer is responsible for the activities of his employee. If I work for a company and I embezzle money, I'll get in trouble, but the company will also get in trouble. Because the first thing, you want Hanuman? Okay, go ahead.
Is a president or a king responsible for the whole as much as they like?
Yes. Srila Prabhupada explains that the Vedas state that a king has to take 1/4 of the sinful reaction of all the citizens. So if you're allowing the citizens to engage in sinful activities, then you have to suffer for that. Yes, Vidura?
Does that include presidents?
I'm sorry?
He's saying, does that include presidents?
Yes. Not the same as a king. Because a king has full autonomy. So he can, anything that's being done, he has full control over. The president doesn't. For example, the president can't set fiscal policy. The president can't pass certain laws. That's done by Congress. So he can't take all the sinful activities, or even maybe a quarter of them, such as a king could, because he's not fully responsible. But when he has to make choices, especially in regards to war, he has to consider, well, is he doing the right thing? Because that's really what the president is the executive administrator. He's mainly the head of executing those laws. But the president can also pick which laws to execute, and sometimes he can kind of ignore ones he doesn't want to execute. So he has to pick carefully. But the problem is the problem with democracy is there's no brāhmaṇas who are overseeing this type of democracy. The people are. But if the majority of people are sinful, then what happiness can you hope for in this world or in this country? If the majority people see nothing wrong with killing and slaughtering innocent animals, then you can't expect peace. The only thing you can expect is more war. And so people can go out and demonstrate and protest that they don't want war, that they want war to stop. But if those same people can't stop killing just to eat, then they can't expect any peace. All they can expect is war to continue. So these two Kumaras. And so Vishnu himself is coming, and he is asking for their forgiveness. And he's taking responsibility. Now, why is it that those who are authorities, why are they responsible for those that follow them?
Because people imitate somebody who's higher up.
Very good. Yad yada charati shreshtas tad tadi vektoro janaha. Saya pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. Whatever standards he sets, all the world pursues. This is Krishna speaking, 21st shlok of the 3rd chapter. If somebody famous does something, then other people are going to imitate it. Unfortunately, the people who are leaders in society at the present are some of the most low-class and degraded people you can imagine. They're called Hollywood actors and musicians. And so these people, their lifestyle is abominable. And because they engage in abominable activities, then the majority of people start to engage in them. And so a lot of them, they're mainly responsible for what's going on. Because they're degrading people by their activities. Even the lyrics of some songs, what these people are singing. Then people start to take them up and they engage in those activities, but they have to suffer for them. A father, just like you're saying, because people look up to him. All children look up to their father and their mother. And even if they don't understand, but they start to imitate the behavior of their father and mother without anyone even telling them to do so. Because they have to look for some way, how do I do things? So just like a child learns how to speak by listening to what the mother and the father speak, in the same way, if the mother and father do certain things, then the children imitate it. So a lot of times the parents can't get angry how the children turn out because they're learning from them. Just like in the 80s, there used to be a commercial. What was it? For Drug-Free America. What was that? There was a name for it, though.
Partnership for
Drug-Free America. There was some other quick name they gave it. Okay, but anyway, in this commercial, there used to be this kid, and he was doing drugs. And the parent comes in, and he'd yell at the kid. What are you doing? Where did you learn that? And the child says, I learned that from watching you, Dad. Of course, that's a very gross example. It's not always the time children are learning how to engage in drug use from their parents, although I know quite a few incidents of that. But what they are learning is their behavior. So those who are in positions of some type of authority, it behooves them to not engage in proper behavior. Or to engage in proper behavior, sorry. If they don't engage in proper behavior and they misbehave, they cause nothing but chaos. And that's why it's stated in Bhagavatam, Guru nasa syat svajano nasa syat, pita nasa syat, janani sasa syat, daivim chatasyan, napatishcha sasyan, namocha yasamupeti, mrityum. If you cannot deliver your dependents from mrityu, from death, then you should not become a father or mother. You should not become a guru. You should not become a demigod. You shouldn't do this. You should only take up this task if you can do this. Now, this doesn't mean people should stop having kids, people should stop being gurus, people should stop being authorities. What it does mean is that when we take up these tasks, and we're taking up these tasks because the Lord has ordered us to, Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, become guru and deliver the land. So we have an order we have to do. And because we have that order to deliver others and to try to help them, then the implicit order is become a good example yourself. Don't just tell people what to do. Don't just make a show of it, but actually become, and this is important, become convinced why it's right to do something and do it. It's one thing to do something, but very important is to become convinced why to do it. Because if we're not convinced, the bad behavior will always return. Now, we may be convinced, but there is some hridaya darabalya. There is weakness of heart. And that weakness of heart, we may keep on engaging in undesirable activities. But it's not because we're not convinced. It's just because we keep on getting pulled. So that's one other instance. Now, if that happens, that's a little bit more precarious situation than the person that doesn't understand. Because there's a person that understands, and once they understand it, they stop doing it. But for someone who understands and they're still doing something, what hope is there for them? What can they do? Raghu, what can that person do? They know what's right. You understand? You follow me? But they keep on doing the wrong thing. What's the problem there, often? What do you think? You don't know?
Bad association?
Yes. That's often the case, bad association. There are those people.
That might be more like weakness of height, just to realize that.
Yeah, but I think that's rare. I mean, that's very rare. People who know what's right, but they're still going to not do it just to be defiant. There are those type of people. But I think the majority of people aren't like that. I think the majority of people are engaging in things even though they know it's right. I mean, they know it's wrong, because they don't have a strong enough association to help give them strength so they can execute something. That's why it's very important for sadhu sangha. In the Vedas, if something, or even in general, if something's very important, it's often repeated. For example, Raghu, sit properly. Raghu, you're getting picked on today. When your mom or dad wants you to do something, don't they often repeat it? We tell you once, then we tell you a second time, right?
Yeah.
Why are we repeating it?
So you know what to do.
But why couldn't we just tell you once? You may forget. So you want to keep on saying so you don't forget, right? This is why the importance of sadhu sangha is repeated. Chaitanya Charitamrita states, sadhu sangha sarva shastra hoy. Lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. It's repeated 3 times. It's not just stated once, but 3 times. So maybe you would have thought that, okay, it's kind of important to associate with sadhus because it's being talked about. But if it's being talked about twice and 3 times in the same shloka, they will understand this is important. This is something I need to do. I need to associate with sadhus. Now, how do you define a sadhu? That's the next important question. How do you define a sadhu? Well, first we have to understand what the word sadhu means. Sadhu, can you tell what dhatu it comes from, Hanuman? I'll give you a clue. You know the dhatu.
Is it
Like perfected?
yeah. I'm just guessing.
No, close though. Go to, it's us, to
Okay.
be. So then it becomes sat, which means existing or eternal. So sadhus are those who know what is eternal, those that know what is permanent. See, there may be people who are pious, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're sadhus. they may do something, and this is where mundane moralists have a problem. They may understand, well, this is good not to steal, this is good to be nice to others, but ultimately, why are those things good? If you ask them, oftentimes they don't have any answer, except, well, if we do it, the world's a nice place. But then when you engage in that type of mentality, you begin to believe that just being nice is an absolute principle in and of itself. And then big mistakes are made, such as, well, we shouldn't be mean to somebody, but then you allow violence and abuse to occur because you're not standing up because you don't want to offend somebody. But real knowledge is that which is eternal. You know to do something for eternal benefit. And because you know that, that is what is a sadhu. So this is what is being stressed, is the importance of associating with those people who know what is eternally beneficial. If we could do that, then that which is impure within our hearts can be removed from their association. Some people have the mistaken idea that the Guru purifies us simply by being in his presence, as if he's like a heater just emitting something, and then we're in his presence, and then we think, well, just by being with him I become liberated, I don't really have to do anything. But that's not what Shastra says. If we look here at Sri Guru Vandana, it says, Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate. The Guru destroys our ignorance. And there's two ways he does that. One, by his personal example. So even though he may not say something, we can tell what is the right thing to do, and our ignorance is destroyed. For example, when Srila Prabhupada, if he came in a temple, if he came right now into here, he'd pay his obeisances in front of the deities. So we wouldn't have to question what we should do. We'd know, well, Srila Prabhupada, he's a saint, he's paying his obeisances, so all I have to do is follow him. Now we may not understand immediately, but we can meditate upon it. Well, why is he doing that? Because God is great, I am a servant. So that's an indirect way. And then the Guru also liberates by directly telling us. So instead of paying obeisances, he may pay obeisances, but then he may sit down and he may tell us that Krishna has appeared here in the form of his deity. He is there present for us, and we are his servants, so we should bow down to him. The importance of sadhus is strong and important because simply by being with them, we feel strength. In the Nectar Devotion, it's described, this is, what's the technical term for it? Chaya basa? I can't remember it, but it's termed shadow ecstasy. Sometimes simply by being in the presence of a sadhu, we feel some form of ecstasy and strength. The mistake, of course, often is for beginners, we think that I'm experiencing that because of my spiritual advancement. But actually what's happening is we're experiencing it because it's emanating prema bhakti jaho hoite, that their prema is emanating from their heart simply by being in contact with that great advanced devotee. We're feeling some benefit. But we need that in the beginning state, especially to overcome this hridaya dalbalyam, this weakness of heart, which prevents us from doing the right thing. Now, one may question Jai and Vijay. How did they not do the right thing since they're constantly in association with the Lord? This is one of those things where the answer is, it is just pastime. There's no way to you can't take it any other way. So all of this may be going on, and Vishnu's coming and apologizing, but we shouldn't misunderstand that Vishnu is maybe perhaps bad association, or Jai and Vijay weren't really up to the task, because they wouldn't be up in Vaikuntha if they weren't elevated personalities. What is happening here is Krishna wants to put on a whole pastime, and many other pastimes are going to occur, so by which he can enter into the world, and by his activities, mortals are going to see what is good and what is bad activity. And then by following that, they can become liberated. Krishna himself tells us this is why he descends in Bhagavad Gita. 4th chapter, is it 7, 8? Pritranaya?
Prachanaya sadhanam vinashaya chidushkritam dharmasam stapanataya sambhavam yuge. To deliver the pious as well as to annihilate the miscreants. I descend
And to reestablish.
the principles of religion. I appear every millennium.
Yes, yuge, millennium. So 3 things. Pritranaya sadhanam, to deliver the devotees. Vinashaya chidushkritam, to kill the demons. And to establish religion. Pritranaya sadhanam vinashaya chidushkritam. Dharma samstapanarthaya. Dharma samstapa means to establish. That's why we say Prabhupada is the samstapakacharya, because he's established our Siddhanta. But of these 3 things, let's take the first thing, Pritranaya sadhanam. How does Krishna deliver his devotees? Yes, Bhajnam.
I said the spiritual master.
Yeah, but in this case we're talking about when he directly comes.
When he directly.
Yeah, when he directly comes, how does he deliver his devotees?
His sweet pastimes? Or
Yes, exactly. Because his pastimes are tracked. He performs pastimes which captures the minds of his devotees, and that naturally delivers them. Vinashaya chidushkritam, how does he kill his devotees? Well, that one's easy. He just kills the demons. How does he kill the demons? He just kills them. Now, he doesn't have to come for the second reason. Krishna can very easily get rid of the demons by any various methods. He can cause a big flood. He can just give them cancer. There's all kind of karmic reactions. He doesn't have to personally come. But because he comes, that ties into Pritranaya sadhanam. Because he comes and he performs these wonderful activities, then the devotees are attracted. So when we hear activities of, young baby Krishna killing the demon Putana, the devotees become attracted to that pastime. Why do they become attracted? Well, one, because he does something wonderful. He, as a small baby, kills this great demon. But for another more intimate reason that Shukadeva Goswami tells us about in the 3rd canto, he says that Krishna is so merciful that even though Putana comes to poison him and kill him, he liberates her. He's so merciful that he gives her the position of motherhood in the spiritual world. So Shukadeva Goswami says, if he's so merciful, why would I not worship him? So you think of activities like this as if you're a devotee, and you become liberated because you think how merciful he is, and you think, I want to serve him. And then, of course, Dharma samstapanarthaya. He comes and he establishes religion by his teaching, by his example. You can think of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He taught everybody, please chant. And then what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always do, Chaitanya? He doesn't. You're named after Chaitanya and you don't know what Chaitanya always did? He chanted and danced. Why do you think Gaur Nitai's hands are up on the altar? He's dancing. He's coming and he's dancing and he's singing. So it wasn't like he said, all of you always chant and I'm going to sit in the house and watch TV. He was saying what he was doing. So this is why the Lord comes, for these activities. But in order to do them, he does it in a wonderful way. So what we have to do is we learn from those examples by his wonderful pastimes. Now one may wonder, or one may become confused about Jai and Vijay acting, so to speak, as demons. Because if you're a devotee, you can't become a demon. It's just not possible. And these are liberated devotees, right? They're in Vaikuntha. They're the doorkeepers. So they're standing there. Of course, that brings up another point.
So you can see
Do they
why the
really
whole
need-
thing is a pastime. There doesn't need to be doorkeepers there.
But devotees can't become demons. So if they're becoming a demon, it's for some purpose. And the way we have to understand it is we have to understand drama. So you can go see a play. Say we all decide to go this year to Stratford-on-Avon in Canada. What's playing this year? I saw The Tempest. No, not The Tempest. Taming of the Shrew. And Hamlet's playing. Hamlet's playing also. Okay, so let's take Hamlet.
And, what's it called? King Lear.
That was last year. We're talking about this year. Okay, well, we can take King Lear, but let's take Hamlet, because we all know the story of Hamlet. So we all go this year to Stratford-on-Avon. We cross the Blue Water Bridge, go over 2 hours, and we come to this little town, romantic town, in the province of Ontario, and we go see Hamlet. And in front of us, we see all kind of things happen on the stage, right, Chaitanya?
Yeah.
Right? There's a play going on. And what do we see happen? We see this ghost appear, Hamlet's father, and he tells Hamlet, you have to avenge me, and Hamlet says, I will. Okay. And then Claudius, this evil uncle, is plotting, thinking, how can he kill Hamlet? And then at the end, Hamlet takes his sword and runs right through Claudius, and he dies. And then Hamlet dies because Laertes stabbed him with a poisoned sword, and like half the people on the stage are laying there dead. And then Fortinbras comes in, and then the curtains are drawn and the play is over. Is that the end of the play, Raghu?
Yes.
No. What happens after the curtains are drawn? What happens?
They come to bow.
They come to bow. But wasn't Claudius killed? No. The guy, well, you could say this: Claudius was killed, not the person playing Claudius. He is still very much alive. So he comes, and everyone comes, and they all take a bow, and the play then is over. Now, in the play, we were watching, Claudius was a really bad guy. But in real life, is he a bad guy? He might be. He may be bad. Or he may be good, and the guy playing Hamlet may be rotten. We don't know that. They're actors. But why are they there? Well, of course, why has the play been written is the question. It's for entertainment, but it also has other purposes. We're supposed to learn things from this play. Most play we're supposed to. That was the whole Greek idea of drama, that a drama was supposed to be cathartic. By watching a drama, one can see other people doing stupid things so that we won't engage in the stupid things. Better let somebody make a mistake for pretend that someone in real life make a mistake. So that's the whole idea here, is these pastimes are going on, but it's just a play. Jai and Vijay are not real demons. They come and they act as Kumbhakarna and Ravan, and they do so many things, but they're not demons. In the end, after the curtain is set, they go right back to Godhead. They're just being engaged as the part of the Lord's pastimes. Because if he's going to put on these pastimes, he has to have very qualified people to do this. And who better to do it with than his devotees? But of course, the lesson we're supposed to learn, well, there's manyfold, but the one we're being pointed out here, is that if we are going to assume a level of responsibility, then we are responsible. That's the thing. When you take, like, I'm in a level of responsibility. That means you're responsible. And you're responsible for people and for their activities. And so for those of us that take on a position of authority, having authority over others, we have to take it careful. We have to be cautious that we're not just taking praise, blame, praise and distinction. We have to remember that blame and these other things also go with it, because we're responsible. So our position is not simply to accept, but also to give. That means by giving good association. And if we think, or we feel, well, worthy of giving good association, then the point here is, someone should say, should you step down from your position of authority? No, actually you shouldn't. What you should do is you should change. Because obviously that has come because Krishna is asking us to do it. So what we should do is become worthy and make ourselves good association. Because by pushing ourselves to be good association, it's good for us and it's good for other people. People don't want to see those people who are leaders. They don't necessarily want to see them exposed and then have to step down and be shamed. What they want to see is them to become good people, become better. Because then it's glorious for everybody involved. All right, we'll stop here. Is there any questions or comments? Yes, dear.
I have one of each.
Okay.
First, when Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu and Ravana, all of these guys, particularly say like Ravana and Hiranyaksha, disturbed the universe so much. You know, destroyed things, disturbed the demigods, killed and enslaved people.
Yes.
You know, and those living entities actually suffered. And although the whole thing, everything that's going on is a result of karma. So we could say,
Chaitanya.
even people looking at it now, there's always the confusion. Okay, these innocent people are suffering at the hands of this evil man. Perhaps in their past life they did something to deserve the suffering, but he still takes the karma for doing it. Or perhaps in his past life he suffered at their hands and that's why he's coming back to it. But right here and now,
Chaitanya, sit nicely.
Jai and Vijay are acting out these things.
You're asking, are they taking karma?
Are they really taking karma? Is there real suffering happening? You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of an incident. In some cases, some of the personalities are taking karma, but I don't know if it's what it's based on. That's difficult to understand. At least we can say this for certain, that whoever was suffering, they were suffering because of some karma, and whether, you know, it was Hiranyakashipu doing it or someone else, they were just acting as agents. But no, that is an interesting point. Especially those who, I mean, because you got different people of different levels in the pastimes, in, you know, being engaged.
You mean that you said this and some of that?
Yeah, you know, take for example, you have Dhritarashtra, who, he was not necessarily devotee. You know, Dhritarashtra, even at the end, he goes and does meditation, is at least what we understand from the Bhagavatam. He goes and does meditation, and he attains like impersonal liberation, Sayuja. But it's not like he attains Krishna. And this is, and why is that? Will be partly because of the sinful activities he did. By letting his sons act like this, and never really taking responsibility from it. He didn't. He was lucky he got what he got. So that's one case.
For example, someone taking the responsibility for the sins of their dependents.
But then Bhishma Dev, that's different. He also was sitting there and letting these things go on. But in the end, he's telling Yudhishthira, and he himself is meditating upon the love of the gopis at the end. So you have two different examples there. So I'm not entirely sure. Okay, it was Mother Chintamani next, but you had one other point? Okay. Yes, Mother Chintamani.
Well, I have two questions, but in reference to what she was saying, is everything that happens to someone, like negative, is it always karma? Or could it be like someone's doing a bad act and they're making their karma? You know what I mean? Or it's like someone shoots me or something.
Yes.
Is that in every case my karma, or can someone just be making some bad karma for themselves? Or is, like for a devotee, can we always say, well, that's your karma, or that's my karma?
Well, with the devotees, it's a little different because sometimes it's not necessarily karma. Sometimes it's Krishna directly intervening. And the cycle of karma, because we understand, like, we say every time you're clapping your hands in front of the deities, your lines in your hand are changing, your karma's changing. So, that's Krishna directly intervening. So he can also intervene in other ways for certain activities to happen in our life for our own purification. So we may have had, I should have been suffered so many sinful activities because so many sinful activities. So I should have had, X number of dog bites in this life, or burnt my hands so many times. But Krishna, he may step in, and he may actually interfere with our karma because he thinks, okay, now they want to go back to Godhead, so I'm going to maybe speed up karma or change things. Basically, do those things. Arrange things in their life in such a way that they can become liberated through them. Otherwise, with karma, what's happening there, karma is kind of like the stock market. In the stock market, you got some people want to buy stocks and some people want to sell stocks. So they come together in one place so the exchange can take place. So same thing with karma. Krishna arranges. This person, they want to do something bad, and this person, they deserve it. So let me put them together. Of course, that other person, they could still change their mind. They have free will. They can say, okay, I'm going to not shoot this person. So they can walk away from the activity and change. But that person that was supposed to get shot, they're still going to suffer some way. It may not necessarily be a gunshot. It could be something else. But the thing is going to take place, the transaction.
And I have a question about, for instance, when Shishupal was killed with the Sudarshan Chakra, it kind of appeared that the people witnessed his soul coming out in a sense like merging into Krishna.
Yes.
It almost looked like an impersonal type of liberation, but that couldn't have happened, right? An impersonal liberation, because he's really a devotee.
Yeah.
So that was just like kind of showing us.
What's taking place there? Well, I guess my first gut reaction, thinking about it, would be what you said. Like it was just showing to take place because he's not really going to attain liberation. But then again, we know that he comes back to be part of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Jai and Vijay. But yeah, I would think that would just be an instruction. Because ultimately that's not what he attained. We know that they're originally Jai Vijay, so they're going to go back and they're going to be part of those pastimes.
I just have one more question in
Yeah.
general, but I've been wondering about that maybe in our mind it's an offensive, but I was wondering if sometimes there's some exaggeration. And I'll just give a couple examples of things I've done recently. Like when Krishna and Balaram jumped off the mountain. It was 88 miles high. 88 miles high, that was only 5,000 years ago. Was that in this universe? And the other thing is like King Hussein having so many trillions of servants.
Oh.
And also when many of the queens got married, so many thousands and thousands and millions of elephants and chariots, and it almost seems like, wait a minute, that's more than as
the
many.
population of Earth.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
back there was actually jungles and tigers and things. So I was wondering, are they exaggerating a little bit, or is this somehow?
No. The answer. This one actually is one of more simple question answers. Believe it or not, if you go to Vrindavan, what do you see when you go there? You see, you may go there and you see some dirty beggar kid on the road, bugging you for money. You may see like stool in the gutter. So you see all these things. But are we seeing Vrindavan or not? We're seeing part of something manifest, but not the Lord's abode. We're seeing like part of what he's showing us, but a lot of it he's covering over. So these past times when they were there, what we were seeing manifest, that was, like Srila Prabhupada points out, an embassy. It was an embassy of the spiritual abode.
So we were seeing basically part of the spiritual world manifest before our eyes. And so then it disappears. So in the spiritual world, there is no limitation. There's no limitation by, time, place. These things are temporary. We only have these limitations in the material world, which are temporary. In the spiritual world, those limitations aren't there. So he can manifest all these things. And, he can do amazing things. For example, what to us seems like a mile is shrunk. Or, these are all inconceivable things. But he can make them manifest. Whereas in the material world, those things normally won't happen. There's limitations placed on those things. So when we hear about those activities, no, they're not exaggerations because they were spiritual. They were on the spiritual plane. It was just that they were being manifest in front of us, and then they disappeared. It's kind of like if we set up a movie projector in here and put on Star Wars. There's sooner or later we're gonna see Luke Skywalker fighting with Darth Vader, and so many other things are gonna happen, and then it's gonna be over. And then we'll remember, we're actually in the temple. Of course, we won't watch Star Wars in the temple, but it would appear that was taking place here, but it's not. We could see all these different things happening, and spaceships flying, but it's not happening. But the same way the spiritual world, Krishna will make it appear that this is all happening in front of us, and then he'll take it away. But then the real question becomes, are those things still happening there? Yes. So why am I not seeing them? Why doesn't Giriraj look to me one way how he's supposed to? Or why are these things not happening? Because of our vision. Because we have aparads, we have offenses, so that he's manifesting something to us, because we're even lucky if we're allowed to go there. So at least we're seeing something. But to the degree what we're seeing, that's limited based on our consciousness. And that goes back to remember the question you asked in the letter the other day. About seeing God everywhere. Who's seeing what? Why are they seeing it? So, Prabhupada, one time they asked him, are you seeing Krishna everywhere? He said, yes. And then someone was more specific, can you actually see him as a person? Yes, I see him. What was Prabhupada seeing? What can I understand? Unless I'm on that level. But we can understand he's seeing something different than us. But why is he seeing it different? Because his consciousness is different. I'll give a personal example of this. When when we lived in Govardhan, there was one Baba, sweeper Baba. His name was Sevadas Babaji. And he'd come from a high Brahmin family, very learned, but he renounced everything. He became a Babaji in Vrindavan. Well, we found out secondhand this story from him. So he had a family and all this, and then he renounced and he came to Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, he was very exemplary amongst the Babajis. Many of the Babajis would be sitting on the road, and they would just come there for donations. Even some of them weren't even really Babas. They would live in the village. They'd do whatever they did during the week, even cleaning out gutters. But then when a holy day would come, they would dress up like holy men, sit on the side of the road, collect money, and then go back and use it for either maintaining their family or even abominable activities like drinking or any other thing. And they would always take, and they would always ask to take. However, Sweeper Baba, he was not like this. All he would ever do every day is he would take his broom and he would sweep the perikrama bar going around Govardhan. He would sweep it up. And when you would try to actually give him things, unlike the other Babas, he would stop you from giving. One time my wife tried to give him a blanket. I said, Baba, it's so cold, you take this blanket. He said, oh no, I don't need a blanket. Of course he needed a blanket. One time we tried giving him milk. And he said, oh no, the milk is for the children. You should give the milk to the children. At that time, Raghu was a baby. And Raghu would always go and grab his beard. But we'd be like appalled. Oh no, Raghu, don't grab his beard. But he said, oh no, he's just a child. And he loved Raghu. But this Baba, sometimes he would be at Dhananavartana Kund. This is where Krishna gets ambushed by the gopis. Krishna tells Radharani that she has to pay tax for crossing over Govardhan. And she says, oh, I'll pay you back. You go meet me at Dhananavartana Kund. But then, of course, when Krishna comes, the gopis are there hiding in the trees, and they all jump out and they tie up Krishna to the trees. And they say, now you have to acknowledge that Radharani is the queen of Vrindavan and you are her servant. So this is where he would hang trees, but there was no one there. Now, was he crazy? Someone could argue he was crazy. But from seeing his personal example, I don't think he was crazy. My personal conviction is that he is a highly elevated devotee. And what he is seeing in Vrindavan is not the same as what we are seeing. He's seeing something different. And why am I convinced of that? Well, because of his personal behavior. Because he wasn't a crazy man. Here was a man who came from a good family, who had lived a responsible life, and then he renounced everything to come to the Dham, and his behavior and his example was exemplary. And this is why, for example, we trust Srila Prabhupada when he tells us things. When Srila Prabhupada tells us, I am seeing Krishna, we think he is seeing Krishna. Because the only other alternative is that he's crazy. Because what other old man who has a heart condition would get on a boat with like hardly any money and just come? But he said, I have faith. And so when we see persons, it's always a judgment call. Are they right or wrong? But one of the things that always shine forth, and what will shine forth in our example, is our behavior. So yes, this, going back to that point though, a lot of it depends on consciousness, what we're seeing. So on a material sphere, yeah, you're absolutely right. It would sound like an exaggeration because it's not present in this world, because there's certain laws that prevent these things from taking place here. But because Krishna is above the laws, he can change. He can make there be a mountain. He can, that's so 88 miles high, or he can do all these things. And then when he wants, he can immediately wrap it up and take it away from our vision. But the amazing thing is we know that those activities are eternal. So if our consciousness is right and we were there, we would still see those things even taking place, because those pastimes aren't limited by time.